deep divers, ready to dive into some seriously cool tech today.
Always.
We're taking a deep dive into Netlight Phantom.
A Chilean startup, right?
Yep, and they're making some big claims in the cybersecurity world.
Oh, like what?
They're aiming to be, get this, the ChatGPT of cybersecurity.
Whoa, that's ambitious.
No kidding. But we've got some intel to break down.
Lay it on me. What are we looking at?
We've got their company docs, their website, and a profile from this platform called Unicorns Club.
Unicorns Club? I've heard of that.
Okay.
It's where startups connect with investors,
Yes,
right?
okay.
So we're not just looking at the tech itself, we're also getting into their strategy, their vision for the future.
Right on. And what's really caught my eye is this idea of making advanced cybersecurity accessible to everyone.
Not just the big players with huge budgets.
Exactly. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is Netlight Phantom?
Well, they were founded in October 2024.
Just last month?
Yeah, super fresh. Two founders. Daria Golovnikova, she's the linguistics and strategy expert, and Tomas Coletti, who's the cybersecurity pro.
So brains and brawn, kind of.
Kind of. He's got a background in ethical hacking, too.
Oh, that's cool. So they've got this awesome mix of skills, but what's their big idea? What are they actually building?
Their core product is called SAI, which stands for SOC Analyst Intelligence.
SAI. Catchy. Okay, and that is?
It's an AI-powered SOC platform. They designed it to simplify and enhance those security operations centers.
SOCs, right.
Right.
And SOCs are basically the command centers for companies to monitor and respond to all those cyber threats, right?
Exactly.
But they can be incredibly complex and resource intensive.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that the problem Netlight Phantom is tackling?
You got it. They're hitting two major pain points: the growing complexity of cyber attacks and the fact that lots of companies just don't have the resources to respond effectively.
So their target audience is companies that are kind of struggling to keep up with this crazy threat landscape.
Especially early to mid-sized companies.
Gotcha. Companies that probably can't afford those big, expensive enterprise-grade security solutions.
That's their niche.
And they see a real market there.
Oh, yeah. They estimate that market to be worth between $5 and $10 billion.
Wow. Okay, so how does SAI actually help?
Imagine this: an AI that goes through mountains of security data, finds the most critical threats, and then explains it all to you in plain English.
Whoa.
That's SAI. It uses AI and natural language processing to give those clear, actionable insights and prioritize alerts for the analysts.
So it's like having an AI cybersecurity expert on your team, even if you can't afford a full security department.
That's the idea. It helps those analysts focus on the biggest threats, improving response times and strengthening their overall security posture.
That sounds incredibly valuable in a world where every second counts when you're dealing with a cyber attack.
And by streamlining that threat analysis, SAI can save companies a lot of money by improving their operational efficiency.
Okay, so they've got the problem and the solution. Let's talk business. How do they plan to make money?
They're going with a multi-pronged approach. They'll offer annual licenses for SAI, with different tiers based on what the client needs.
So like a choose-your-own-adventure for cybersecurity.
Yeah, exactly. They're also working on a subscription model, so clients have more flexibility there.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Cater to a wider range of customers and needs that way. But how do they actually price SAI?
Here's the interesting part. They charge based on how much data the client indexes.
Oh, that's interesting. So you only pay for what you use.
Yeah, makes it super scalable and affordable. Clients can control costs and adjust their usage as needed.
Very cool. So they've got a product, a target market, and a business model. Where do they stand right now? Have they launched yet?
They're still pre-launch, which is why this deep dive is so interesting. They haven't released their MVP, but they are actively looking for funding.
How much are they trying to raise?
$1 million in pre-seed funding.
And what are they planning to do with that?
Finalize development, build their team, and get SAI ready to launch.
Classic startup story. Big dreams, a potentially disruptive product, and the hunt for that crucial early-stage funding.
Absolutely. And they're using platforms like Unicorns Club to get in front of those potential investors.
It's all about getting their name out there and showing investors why Netlight Phantom is worth betting on.
They're offering 20% equity in this round.
Which isn't unusual at this stage, right?
Right. But it shows they're serious about finding the right partners, not just the money.
Partners who share their vision and can bring real value to the table.
Exactly. But they're not the only ones in this game. They've got competition.
Oh, I was just about to ask about that. Who are they up against?
Their main competitors are those big players, like Splunk and Palo Alto Networks.
So how does a small startup like Netlight Phantom compete with giants like that?
That's where their unique approach comes in. They're focusing on three key things: natural language analysis, a user-friendly interface, and that flexible pricing model we talked about.
They're really trying to make sophisticated security management something anyone can handle, regardless of their budget or technical skills.
Exactly.
Okay, they've got ambition, a potentially game-changing product, and a good understanding of their market. What are they planning to do with that pre-seed funding? What's their team-building strategy?
Well, according to their business model canvas, they're going all in. They're bringing on specialists in cybersecurity, AI, software development, marketing, and sales. They're even budgeting for HR and office management.
Wow, that's a lot to cover, especially before they're even generating revenue. It sounds like they're planning for rapid growth.
They are, and they're not shy about their funding strategy. They're already thinking about future rounds to help them expand.
Ambitious, but given the market size, it's not totally unrealistic. So they're thinking big picture, and they're very open about how they're going to use that money.
Definitely transparent. Now, before we jump into their traction and plans, let's take a look at their cost structure. Gives us a good snapshot of where their priorities are.
Okay, let's break down that budget. Where's the bulk of the money going?
The biggest chunk, 60%, is going towards salaries and building the team.
Makes sense. Gotta have the right people, especially early on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're not just looking for technical skills. They want people who are passionate about cybersecurity and believe in their vision.
So it's about finding the right cultural fit, too, not just the skills. That's so important for a strong company culture.
They're also budgeting for things like team building and wellness programs.
So they're really thinking about their employees as people, not just workers. Good sign. What's the next biggest expense?
Infrastructure, AI model training, and data processing. That's about 20%.
Yeah, that makes sense. SAI relies heavily on AI and machine learning. That takes some serious computing power.
Oh, for sure. And they need big data sets to train those models, plus specialized software. All that adds up.
And of course, they need to protect their own data and infrastructure, especially since they're in the cybersecurity space.
Irony, right. But it highlights how crucial cybersecurity is for every organization.
So 60% for the team, 20% for infrastructure and AI. What about the last 20%?
That's split evenly. 10% for marketing and sales, and the other 10% for all those essential licenses, certifications, and operating costs.
So the stuff that keeps the lights on, but only 10% for marketing and sales. Doesn't seem like much.
Well, remember, they haven't launched yet. No revenue yet. So their initial marketing will be about building brand awareness, getting leads, and building excitement for SAI.
So creating buzz, making sure people know who they are and why they should care.
Exactly.
Makes sense. And that last 10% is all the essential but not so glamorous stuff.
Yep. Software licenses, security certifications, legal fees, office supplies, all that.
It's easy to forget about all those little things, but they add up.
Oh, absolutely. Even the most innovative startups have to deal with the practical side of running a business.
So we've got a pretty good picture of how they're planning to spend that money. Now let's talk traction and future plans. They're pre-revenue, but have they gotten any traction so far?
They have. According to their Unicorns Club profile, they've already been talking to potential customers, and the feedback has been positive.
That's great. It suggests they're actually solving a real problem, building something people actually want.
Right. And they've been networking like crazy, connecting with industry experts, potential partners, and investors.
So they're not just hiding away in a basement coding, they're getting out there, building relationships, and drumming up excitement. What are some of their big goals for the future?
The immediate priority is launching that MVP. They want to do that in the next 12 months.
Huge milestone for any startup, putting their product in the hands of real users and getting that feedback to make it even better.
Absolutely. And beyond that, they're really focused on three things: direct sales, strategic partnerships, and what they call high-impact marketing.
It's a pretty classic approach, right? Let's break that down a bit. What does direct sales look like for them?
They're planning to build a sales team that will target specific customer segments, go to industry events, and make those personal connections with decision makers.
So a hands-on approach, building relationships and tailoring their pitch to each potential customer.
Exactly. And how about strategic partnerships? Who are they hoping to team up with?
They're looking at established cybersecurity firms, tech vendors, even managed security service providers.
Smart move. Those partnerships could give them access to all sorts of things: existing distribution channels, a broader customer base, and even valuable technical expertise.
It's all about working smarter, not harder, leveraging the strengths of other companies to help them grow faster.
Absolutely. And then there's that high-impact marketing. What's their plan there?
They're thinking content marketing, thought leadership, social media engagement, all that good stuff, building their brand and positioning themselves as the experts.
It's about telling their story, highlighting what makes them unique, and getting people excited about SAI.
So, a multifaceted approach to marketing makes sense in today's digital world.
Right. They're also really emphasizing customer success. They want to build those long-term relationships, make sure their clients are happy, and turn them into advocates for the brand.
So, it's not just about making the sale, it's about providing ongoing support and building a community around their product.
Exactly. And that's a smart strategy for any company, but especially a startup trying to shake things up in a well-established industry.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. It seems like they're a young company with big dreams.
They definitely have a clear understanding of the challenges and opportunities in the cybersecurity world.
But they're also pre-revenue and pre-MVP, so it's still early days.
Lots can happen between now and launch.
So the big question is, do they have what it takes to succeed?
That's what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive. We'll take a closer look at their competition, their strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately their chances of making their vision a reality.
It's going to be a fascinating journey, so stick with us.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
We're ready to go even deeper into Netlight Phantom.
Right where we left off, those big plans and the competition they face.
Yeah, let's dig into that competitive landscape. Who are they up against, and how are they going to stand out?
Well, as we mentioned, they're going head-to-head with Splunk and Palo Alto Networks.
Industry giants.
Exactly. Big players offering a ton of different security solutions.
So how does a small startup like Netlight Phantom even begin to compete with that?
That's where their unique approach comes in. They're banking on three key differentiators: natural language analysis, a really intuitive user experience, and that flexible pricing model.
We touched on those in part one, but let's break them down a bit more. What's so special about this natural language analysis?
Most cybersecurity tools are so complex, you need a lot of technical knowledge just to understand them. Netlight Phantom wants to change all that with SAI. Think about it. Security alerts and insights, but explained in plain English.
Like having an expert break it all down for you.
Exactly. So even if you don't have a whole team of cybersecurity experts, you can still understand what's going on and what to do about it.
That's huge for companies with limited resources.
It levels the playing field, makes sophisticated threat analysis accessible to so many more people.
Okay, so natural language analysis is a big plus. What about this intuitive user experience they're talking about?
They're designing SAI to be super simple and easy to use, even if you're not a tech expert. They want to get rid of those clunky dashboards that require a PhD to figure out.
Sounds like they're taking inspiration from the consumer tech world.
Totally.
Yeah.
User experience is everything these days. And in the cybersecurity world, it's often overlooked. So they're trying to change that. Make security tools that are powerful and user-friendly.
Smart move. And the third differentiator, that flexible pricing.
Right. Remember, they're charging based on how much data is indexed.
So companies of all sizes can afford it.
Exactly. Scale up or down as your needs change. No huge upfront costs like those traditional solutions.
Okay, those differentiators sound solid. But they're still a young company with no real track record going up against giants in the industry. What are some of the challenges they might face?
You nailed it. Their lack of experience is a hurdle. Splunk and Palo Alto Networks have been around forever. They've built these solid reputations and massive customer bases. Netlight Phantom has to prove themselves, convince people to switch.
It's David versus Goliath. But hey, sometimes being the underdog can work to your advantage. You have to be more innovative, more agile, and more focused on your customers.
Totally agree. They need to play that underdog card to their advantage, but they also have to be careful about how they manage their growth. Scaling a startup can be tricky, especially in a field as fast-paced as cybersecurity.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype, overspend, and lose sight of your goals.
Right. Finding that balance between ambition and sustainability, that's key.
So experience managing growth, those are two big ones. Anything else?
Well, they're really relying on AI.
Which is amazing.
It's a double-edged sword. AI is powerful, but it's always changing, evolving.
So there's always the risk that a new threat will pop up that their AI isn't ready for.
Exactly. It's like this constant arms race. They need to stay ahead of the curve, make sure their AI models are always learning, always adapting to those new threats.
So they've got their work cut out for them, but let's flip it. What are the opportunities? What's the potential upside here?
If they can launch SAI successfully and get some real traction, they could completely disrupt the cybersecurity market.
That's a multi-billion-dollar industry just waiting for someone to shake things up.
Exactly. And that focus on making things accessible and easy to use, that could open up a whole new market. People who couldn't afford these solutions before, now they have a chance.
So high risk, high reward. But how do we assess their chances of success?
It's tough to predict the future, but we can look at some indicators. For one, they have a great team, strong founders with different but complementary skills, and they're building out a team with expertise in all the areas they need.
Solid foundation, and it sounds like they're committed to building a well-rounded team. What else?
Their technology looks promising. That focus on natural language analysis and user experience, that could be a real game changer.
And their pricing model, that could be huge for attracting those cost-conscious customers.
They're also targeting a large and growing market. Always a good sign.
But it's also a competitive market. They're going to have to execute perfectly to stand out.
Absolutely. They need to show that they can get results.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're already doing that, engaging with potential customers, building partnerships, generating buzz.
All good signs. But let's get down to brass tacks. What are their financials looking like?
Well, they're pre-revenue right now, but they have shared some revenue and profit targets.
Okay, give me the numbers. What are they projecting?
Their goal is to hit $500,000 to $1 million in revenue in their first year.
That's ambitious. But considering the market and their target customers, maybe not impossible.
And within 5 years, they're projecting $5 million in revenue with a 30% profit margin.
Wow, that's impressive.
But these are just projections. It's all theoretical at this point.
So much can change. It all depends on how well their product does, how many customers they can get, and how well they manage their costs.
Oh, and let's not forget about that competition.
Right, always a factor. Okay, so what about their valuation? They're asking for $1 million for a 20% stake, right?
Yep. So that would put their pre-money valuation at $4 million.
Seems reasonable for a company at this stage. It's a bet on their potential, not their current performance.
Exactly. Speaking of bets, let's dive a little deeper into the terms of that pre-seed funding round.
Things like board seats, voting rights, exit strategies, that stuff can make or break a deal.
Oh, absolutely. Both sides need to be really careful about those terms, negotiate something that's fair and works for everyone.
So we've got the financials, the valuation, and the funding terms. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk intellectual property. Why is that so crucial in tech, and how is Netlight Phantom handling it?
In tech, your ideas, your code, your algorithms, those are your gold. Protecting your intellectual property, that's crucial to prevent others from copying you or stealing your work.
So patents, trademarks, copyrights, all that.
Exactly. And Netlight Phantom is already on top of it. They figured out who owns what, and they're even looking into potential patents.
Pretty impressive for a company at their stage, definitely thinking ahead.
They're being strategic about it, focusing on the most important aspects of their tech, not just rushing to file expensive patents for everything.
Makes sense. So their IP is covered. Now let's get into that Unicorns Club profile. What kind of insights does that give us?
It's like a behind-the-scenes look at their journey, really valuable for potential investors. Gives you a sense of their company culture, their team, their approach to fundraising, their overall readiness.
Okay, what are some of the key takeaways for you? What jumped out?
I was impressed by their transparency. They're sharing a lot of detail about the company, their financials, even their challenges.
That's refreshing. A lot of startups are super secretive at this stage, but Netlight Phantom seems to be embracing that openness.
It's smart. Transparency builds trust, shows potential investors and customers that they're being authentic, even about the tough stuff.
Like we're all in this together.
Exactly. And beyond that, you can really see their team dynamics in the profile. They explain their structure, who does what, how they collaborate, all that.
Okay, paint me a picture. What's their team like?
It's a founder-led company. Daria and Thomas are co-CEOs, each bringing something different to the table. And they seem to have a good working relationship, which is so important for co-founders.
They have to be on the same page and be able to make decisions together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're already planning for the future. They've got a potential organizational chart mapped out with dedicated teams for everything: product development, cybersecurity, AI, marketing and sales, even customer success.
So they're building a well-rounded team, experts in every area.
And they're not just looking for skills. They want passionate people who share their vision, people who want to make a difference.
So talent, AD, purpose. Okay, let's talk fundraising. We know they're after that $1 million in pre-seed funding. What's their overall funding plan?
They see this as just the first step. They'll probably need more funding down the road to expand into new markets, maybe even acquire other companies.
Pretty standard startup trajectory, growth, expansion, maybe an IPO someday.
Right. And they're being smart about their equity, 20% for the pre-seed round, but they're open to adjusting that depending on the investor and the terms.
They're being flexible, strategic. It shows they understand that equity is valuable, and they want investors who bring more than just money.
Exactly. They want partners who can offer guidance, connections, who share their vision.
They're being picky, which is a good sign. Their profile also talks about their readiness for success. How are they measuring that?
They have this scoring system that tracks their progress in all the key areas: team, product, business, intellectual property, customers, marketing, funding, all of it.
So they're constantly evaluating themselves, figuring out where they need to improve.
Exactly. They're not afraid to acknowledge their weaknesses. Like, they admit that their business model is still evolving, which is normal for a pre-revenue company, but they're working on it, refining it, exploring different revenue streams, and figuring out their pricing and costs.
Smart, not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right. And it's not just about the money. They've laid out some core values that drive their mission: self-actualization, hope, motivation, belonging.
Pretty deep stuff for a cybersecurity company. What do those values mean to them?
They're trying to build a company that's about more than just profit. They want their product to empower people, build a sense of community, and make the world a safer place.
Love that. So their profile also gives us some insight into their marketing plans, even though they haven't launched yet.
They're already thinking about how to get the word out.
Makes sense. What's their approach?
Multi-pronged, which is consistent with their overall strategy. Direct sales, strategic partnerships, and a mix of online and offline tactics.
So they're casting a wide net. Let's break that down. What are some of the specifics?
For direct sales, they're building a team that will focus on certain types of customers, attend industry events, and network with decision makers.
Standard B2B stuff? And for partnerships?
They're looking at teaming up with those established cybersecurity firms, tech vendors, and managed security providers.
Smart move. Those partnerships could be huge for them. Open up all sorts of doors.
Exactly. And then for marketing, they're planning to do a bit of everything: content marketing, social media, email campaigns, SEO, paid ads, PR, even their own events.
Covering all the bases?
And they're trying new things too, like influencer marketing, videos, interactive content.
So they're not afraid to experiment and get creative.
And they're not just randomly trying things. They're paying attention to the data, tracking things like website traffic, leads, conversions, and costs to make sure their marketing is actually working.
Data-driven marketing. Gotta love it.
Now let's talk about their customer acquisition strategy. Same multi-pronged approach again.
So that same thinking applies to how they're going to get customers.
Yep. Direct sales, strategic partnerships, that mix of online and offline tactics.
Reaching out to their target audience from all angles.
Exactly. And they're not just focused on getting customers. They want to keep them happy and turn them into loyal fans.
Customer retention is huge, especially in the long run.
Absolutely. They're planning to build a dedicated customer success team to make sure their clients are getting the most out of SAI and building those strong relationships.
It's about creating a win-win situation.
Exactly. Now, their profile also talks about their news and media strategy.
It seems early to be thinking about media coverage when they haven't even launched.
They get it, though. Positive media coverage is huge for building a brand, establishing credibility, and attracting investors and customers. So they're being proactive, building relationships with journalists and influencers, crafting their story, and planning their media outreach to coincide with those key milestones.
Laying the groundwork for a successful launch.
Right. And they're not just thinking about those traditional media outlets. They're using social media to get their message out there and connect with a wider audience.
It's all about building buzz, both online and offline.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot in this second part of our deep dive. Their competition, their strengths and weaknesses, the risks and opportunities, their financials, their valuation, those funding terms, their intellectual property strategy, and even their approach to media.
Phew. That's a lot.
And there's still more to come. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll zoom out and look at the bigger picture. What could Netlight Phantom's impact be on the whole cybersecurity world?
Time to get philosophical. I'm excited.
It's going to be fascinating. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive into Netlight Phantom.
Back again for the final part of our deep dive into Netlight Phantom.
Ready to wrap things up?
We've spent the last two parts really getting to know this company, their tech, their team, their financials, their marketing, all of it.
We see their ambitions, the challenges they face, the opportunities that are out there.
But now, let's step back, look at the bigger picture. What could Netlight Phantom's impact be on the cybersecurity world as a whole?
That's the big question, right? And what's really fascinating is this idea of democratizing cybersecurity. Imagine a world where sophisticated tools like SAI are available to any business, any school, any organization, no matter how big or small, no matter their budget.
That would be a huge change. Right now, it seems like those tools are only for the big companies with tons of money to throw around.
Exactly. Netlight Phantom wants to make cybersecurity accessible to everyone, level the playing field, and make the whole digital landscape safer for all of us.
It's a pretty bold vision,
Yeah.
but if SAI really works the way they say it does, it could have a massive impact on the entire industry.
It could change how organizations approach cybersecurity, make it more proactive, less reactive. It could give smaller businesses the tools they need to defend themselves against those really sophisticated attacks that they couldn't handle before.
And it could force those cyber criminals to up their game too, right? If everyone has access to these advanced tools, the bar gets raised for everyone.
Exactly. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats. If Netlight Phantom succeeds, it could raise the overall level of cybersecurity globally. And that's good news for everyone.
Okay, I'm sold on their mission, but let's be real for a second. There are always two sides to every coin. What are some of the potential downsides of all this?
You're right. We can't get too carried away. There are some legitimate concerns about unintended consequences when you're talking about AI, especially in a field as sensitive as cybersecurity.
So what are some of those potential pitfalls?
Well, for one, there's the question of access. Even if Netlight Phantom makes SAI affordable, there's still a learning curve. People need to know how to use these tools effectively. You still need that human expertise to interpret the data, make decisions, take action.
So it's not like SAI replaces human cybersecurity professionals completely.
Not at all. It's a tool to help them to make their jobs easier, but it can't replace human judgment. And then there's the risk of people becoming too reliant on AI.
How so?
If people start thinking that AI can handle everything, they might start to slack off on those other important security practices. Basic stuff like password hygiene, employee training, all that.
So it's about finding that balance, right? AI can help, but it can't do everything. We still need those human experts.
Absolutely. AI should enhance our abilities, not replace them. And then there's the AI itself. How do we make sure these AI models are accurate, unbiased, reliable?
That's a good point. We've seen cases where AI systems have shown bias, leading to some pretty unfair outcomes. How do we make sure that doesn't happen in cybersecurity?
That's the big question, and it's something Netlight Phantom and every company working with AI and security needs to be thinking about. Building trust and transparency into these systems, that's crucial.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the ethics behind it, those bigger questions.
Exactly. And those conversations are so important, especially as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives in all these critical areas, like cybersecurity.
Okay, that's definitely a lot to chew on. You know, there's one thing that's been bugging me this whole time. We've been talking about SAI, but we've never actually seen it. What does it look like? How does it work?
That's the tough part about covering companies that haven't launched yet. We're relying on their descriptions, their promises. No public demos or testimonials just yet.
So it's kind of a mystery box. We just have to take their word for it, at least for now.
For now. But that's part of what makes this so exciting, right? We're following their journey as they build this thing, get ready for launch. Who knows what the future holds?
It's a good reminder that even in a field as technical as cybersecurity, it's all about people in the end. Their vision, their drive, their commitment to making a difference.
Absolutely. And whether Netlight Phantom ultimately succeeds or fails, their story is an important one. It raises these crucial questions about the future of cybersecurity and how AI is going to shape that future.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Thanks for walking me through all this, for sharing your expertise.
Happy to do it. And hey, listeners, this isn't the end of the conversation. Keep learning, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions. The future of cybersecurity, we're all going to be a part of shaping it.
That's a perfect note to end on. Until next time, deep divers.
Step up your game, join the unicorns club. Making it rain, nothing ever enough. Invest in the future, watch it all.